Yo, happy Father's Day, everybody. Now, I already know, like, thinking my mic don't sound that good, and it don't. But I really want to talk about Yamamoto because it's Father's Day, so who better to talk about than the father of Soul Side himself, head captain and known as Old Man Yama. Now, is he a fraud? Yes and no. He's not a fraud in the literal sense, but mostly, in my opinion, just a man kind of deserving of some of the losses he's experienced. Yamamoto is a man who used to be a criminal back before he created Soul Society, and eventually turned around his ways to turn the power he used to kill other people and use it to protect, which I'm not, I don't remember correctly if his reasoning was said or not, and we still don't know how he managed to convince Unohana because he did convince other characters. Not that you see in the show, but like during that book, but other criminals at the time when he was actively still a criminal, he managed to convince them to also become captains and use their power to protect, which we don't see them anymore, which I don't know. Probably killed them off, probably not. But Yamamoto is a man that is what I call the old head. The type of, like, those older people that will sit back and say to you, back in my day, or so you ain't doing it right, so you wouldn't have made it back in my day, or you ain't nothing. This like that kind of down talk. Yamamoto kind of has done that, but I always feel like it's mostly a fatherly like approach of actually the disappointment that you're not able to do something, or probably just being a dickhead to motivate you. But he has said some pretty harsh things, and I say one of them is against Renji when he calls him useless. During the Soul Society arc, when they managed to save Rukia, and he's able to run off with her. He does say that we'll get him later because he's useless and replaceable, which I always found crazy enough for him to say that. And later down the line, when he does die during Thousand Blood War, Renji goes on to become one of the most useful figures during that fight. Not the most useful, but one of, which I always kind of found funny. He said that. And another time was during the Fake Karakura Town when he was talking down his subordinates for losing to Ion, who was made by the tribe Bestials. And Ion just ran through the entirety of the lieutenants down there and non-lieutenants, and he was pretty much just kind of disappointed, like you really got to be coming down here for this. Which I get it, you're that strong, but you ain't got to insult me, that type of thing. Which is funny that he does go on to defeat Ion and the tribe Bestials with literal ease, and Wonder Wise, who was made to counter him, but he ends up losing to Aizen. Not in the sense of Aizen fighting him, because Aizen was not going to fight him, which a lot of people do hold in regards of why he's not a fraud is because of his power, which that is not why he's not a fraud. The man has proven he's powerful, which a lot of characters beforehand have proven they are powerful people. The problem with Grand Ryusai is he's comparable to the caveman. Like, you ever just seen like how cavemen are depicted? Like, they're strong. If they get their hands on you, you're pretty much dead. But they're stupid. Not saying he's stupid, but they're very trickable in that sense, and that's how I see him. Like, he's mostly like the criminal who's killed a lot of people, who's been in jail, then they get out. Whenever you talk down to them, that's the first thing they bring up and threaten. Like, I done killed people, folks. You don't want this. Or that's the type of energy he's always giving off. And most people giving that about the Aizen thing have to remember Aizen tricking him with Wonder Wise is nothing new. Because since Soul Society arc, he was tricking all the captains, and including him. But he knew Yamamoto was a very trickable man. Which is why he pretty much pulled it again. Because why would I fight you if I know I could just trick you to doing what I want? So I can give him that, which is funny because he ends up pretty much not impacting the battlefield as much, but he does end up clearing out like the Tribestials, which while they're ants to him, that still they were morally still threats to his lieutenants and lower, which the captain level and lieutenant level I always kind of noticed was very kind of far apart for most of them. So him doing that did help them out and give them time to recover. But pretty much that's mostly not something on him because he is powerful. But the thing is, a lot of people got to remember about Yamamoto is if he is able to be and do as he says as the strongest, he pretty much just would just wipe out Aizen point blank, and Ichigo gets nothing to do at that point. So story just kind of falls apart. But one thing I can say that I always felt like he was a fraud on is when his battle with Yutaba. I know what you're thinking. He got tricked similarly to Aizen. This one is different. His death to Yahaba, or Yuhaba, however you say his name, is the most deserved death I've probably ever seen for somebody. And the reason I say is because during the first Quincy invasion, Yahaba had already lost. He's literally on the back foot. All his Quincy soldiers are dead. And Yamamoto is approaching him while the captains of that time are just standing off watching as he approaches him. And Yahaba, with a devilish, crazed man look, gets prepared to fight for the one last stand, only for Yamamoto's lieutenant to come out through the corpses of his fallen Quincy allies and stab him in the back and use his bankai to electrocute him and move out the way as Yamamoto smites him with flames. Which is funny to me because that was the one time he'd have had a 1v1 in a clean, fair fight, which a lot of people cling on to. He beat him before. And that's not true. If you fight somebody and you jump them, you didn't beat them on your own. You jumped them. Not saying he couldn't have won. He most definitely would have won. But it's the fact that he didn't even give him the chance of a fair 1v1. Yeah, Yabo was most likely wounded at this point, or probably not in the best mindset at that point where he was not going to win. But he never got that chance. And it was always funny because during the second invasion, where he ends up killing that same lieutenant, where he has his minions kill that same lieutenant that stabbed him in the back and use his Bankai to electrocute him. First one to get his Bankai stolen and killed, which enraged Yamamoto. So when the actual first battle of the invasion starts for the second time of the Quincy invasion, Yamamoto just cleaving through any Quincy he sees because he's quietly just trying to get to you. But he wants to give him that 1v1 to truly demoralize him. He's going into this fight to demoralize his opponent. Same way how like you ever been whooped on by like an older person and it just demoralizes you while they're talking down. Like that kind of talk. And the moment he gets a chance to, he ends up saving Kenpachi, but it's not even Yuba himself. He's fighting Roy, which Kenpachi killed the other brother beforehand, and he loses to the other one because it copied Yuba's power, which is either 100% or 70%. I'm not for sure on that. Any leech heads in the comments, just check me on that. That one I think I don't know. But he ends up exhausting pretty much everything he has at this clone, and like he's easily winning. He tosses his Bankai, pretty much just tossing Roy around, and he ended up using one of his Bankai moves where he summons the fallen that he's killed before to ensnare him and try to kill him with that, while talking down about how he literally uses his own people as stepping stones and stuff like that, not realizing he's not talking to the real one. And once he's exhausted all his measures and deactivates his Bankai, Yahaba finally reveals himself, steals his Bankai, and then ends up blowing him in half, if I'm correct. And Yamamoto's just death grips him as a last resort, I guess, a last defiant stand in one of the most embarrassing ways someone like him could be killed. Just to get blown to pieces some more, with nothing left but his broken sword. Which is always funny because he tried to get a 1v1 the second time around and was denied that 1v1 and killed in a disrespectful manner, similar to how Yahweh himself died beforehand. So I say I never gave that first one to old man Yama. I feel like that was more of a tactic of more of his criminal tactic. He's still in those ways, but I guess years go on, he got more in tune to actually at least being fair about some fights, I guess. But does his death make him a fraud at that point? I mean, no. It's a man who just kind of got what he deserved. Like I said, every time he kind of talks smack and just end up losing to the main villain, it's just ironic. Like the old man who comes in the store and harasses you whenever like you're ringing. Like you ever see like somebody or you're in the store or you're the one that's an employee and ringing up and it's an older person. They're just talking to you like you don't know what you that you don't know anything or and they're just talking to you like you just ain't nothing for real because you know they're older, they feel like they have more rights over you, kind of type of thing. That's how I always felt with Yamamoto, but he was that kind of always kind of got what he deserves. And to me, that doesn't make him a fraud. That just makes him a man who just failed due to himself. He does hold his power above over everyone else and is very quick to flex it, but he never got the chance to truly show it off. Because while you can say he has killed many Quincy and Aronkar, he usually ends up killing folks that are no real threat to him, no consequence. And I think that's why a lot of people call him a fraud. Because he ends up fighting the main villain and he just ends up getting wasted. Well, the second time wasted, just pretty much flatline, just get put on his back. And that's just more the cunning of the villain. Like I said, second time around is more just a deserved fate. Well, yes, heck, Captain Yamamoto is a Shinigami, but he's also human to an extent. He's just like us. He has emotions. He's a man that tries to right his wrongs, but still has his failures. He's not the perfect man. He's just a man that, in a world where power isn't everything, where some people can beat you with hacks. Like Soy Fong, she could probably beat a much more powerful opponent to her with just a two tap with her Shikai, pretty much negging whatever power you got. But it just depends. There are a lot of characters who can just bypass or just smart enough to where they can just get you. And I couldn't say he's a fraud for something like that. That's just how the world he lives in is. It's evolved to where the strongest just aren't the dominant force like that, if I had to put it in perspective. And it's not a bad thing in this part. Because Kanana Yamamoto, he is a father figure to a lot of Shinigami. He's a man looked up upon and well respected, despite him being a criminal, probably a very murderous man. To them, he was none of that. To them, he truly was a father fan. I feel like it's a perfect, fitting thing for Father's Day to give him his props because all the fraud allegations that's been going around, it's kind of wild. Like I said, I grown up with Bleach on and off, and I rewatched it all last year, and like caught it what I didn't watch to watch 1,000 Year Blood War, and I got a new perspective on him that he truly has become one of my favorite characters from the show. And if any of you still feel like he's a fraud, I mean, you're right to feel how you feel. Like I say, there are things that he done that honestly he's kind of a character that you say he is. I mean, he's deserving of it to an extent. You say he ain't, he's deserving of it to an extent. He's a man that's not right or wrong, not perfect, just middle of the road. Thank you for listening. And if you made it to the end, bearing with this terrible mic audio quality, thank you and happy Father's Day. I don't normally do stuff, but I never do videos like this. I just got this mic and it's terrible, but working with what I can. Thank you.